Hi, fellows. Today we are going to talk about a very important concept, which is around do the customers need your product? We'll follow a framework called the MOM test framework. So, in the next few minutes, we'll be discussing few concepts which are intended for people who have a business idea but who are not sure if it will work, and also for people who have launched their businesses or products but they have very few or zero customers. So, if you belong to any of these categories, feel free to go ahead. We'll talk about these three items in the next few minutes. One will be mistakes founders make. Second will be the mom test concept. And then we'll talk about some insights. While life gives you lemons, Amy believes that she should make money by selling lemonade. Quite an entrepreneur, I must say. But in the same scenario, Amy gets zero customers and goes out of business. She sold his business. That is sad because maybe she had no market need. Her lemonade shop has no market need, and customers didn't come to the shop. According to Forbes research, 42% of startups fail because of having no market need at all. So, in this video, we'll aim to make sure that no market need will never be a concern for your field. With that concept, we'll talk about the mom test. On a fundamental level, mom test is a set of simple rules for crafting good questions that even your mom can't lie to you about. So you frame some questions, you ask your mom around your business, and your mom can't even lie about it. It looks very simple, but this is one of the most interesting frameworks, which is also recommended by YC in terms of doing customer research and in terms of generating sales before building a product. Seems interesting? Let's go ahead. So here is Lisha, and in this case, she is going to build a business called X. So she proposed the idea and asked her mom, will it work? And Lisha's mom said, yes, it will work. You will be successful. This idea is amazing. Whatever compliments we get from our mom, right? But according to mom test framework, this question is wrong because this is impacted by love and affection towards Lisha from her mom. This is not a question which mom test framework will allow us to ask to our customers or to our mom or to even anyone with whom we would like to validate if our idea X is correct or not. On that concept, let's deep dive into mom test. Here is a case. Lisha is building a product. The product is a cookbook app for iPad. On that context, Lisha is going to have a conversation with her mom whether this app is something which is valid, which is going to be bought by her mom or not. So if you're able to follow along the previous video when Lisha talked to her mom about her idea, and if you followed the comments over there, you must have understood the mistakes which were done in this conversation. I would like to highlight that a bit and give you a summary on the conversation as well. The first one was, you like your iPad, right? That's what Lisha asked. Asking questions to listen what we want to listen. That is a fundamental mistake we do while talking to customers. Lisha was anticipating the answer as yes, and she was forcing her mom, or in other cases, founders forcing their customers to answer yes or no. That is wrong. We can't anticipate something before asking a question. The question should be on the. We'll talk about the correct ways of asking this question as well. But for now, let's focus on the mistake. Second mistake, if you're able to figure it out, would you ever buy X? And even if we have an idea about building an iPad app or a fitness app or maybe a rocket science app, whatever it is, we always ask our customers, would you ever buy X? And if the customer says yes, then we take it as a learning that, okay, when I build this app, then customers are going to buy. Then we talk to our investors, tell them that customers are willing to buy my product. And that's where we get it wrong. These are called as the optimistic hypothetical questions with zero validation as per the mom test framework. Again, we'll talk about the right way to ask this question again, but for now, let's focus on the mistake. Another mistake was, that was an answer to a corresponding question by Lisha to her. But Lisha couldn't figure out that this is a lukewarm signal, an indication that her mom has no interest in that product. So we can't ignore these no interest, lukewarm signals coming from customers while having a conversation. Fourth one, with the celebrity chef you love. That's what Lisha told her mom just to convince her to buy your product. Our goal over here is to learn and take feedback from the customers and not to force the customer to buy your product. So these are the mistakes which were there in the previous conversation. Now let's look at a correct conversation, a correct way of doing the same thing, a correct way of learning from a feedback from the customers. As you must have spotted from this video, Lisha is more focused on learning, taking feedback, refining her idea, and she's not stagnant to any idea. She's not obsessed about her idea at all. That helps. And that is what mom test is all about. Taking feedback from the customers and building a product that the customers will actually use, rather than getting obsessed with whatever mental mess we have and trying to force that on our customer, which never gets sold. On that aspect, let's look at the correct approaches which are suggested by mom test. And as it was explained in the video, if you were following the comments properly, start with a generic question. Let the user take the driving seat and talk more. And here we are just someone who is catalyzing the user to talk about a particular aspect. Second one is one of the most important aspect of the mom test framework, which is about detecting specific past example on our. So let's say in the previous case, Lisha was building a particular iPad app for cooking. In this case, Lisha asked questions to her mom, which is specific to cooking, and the way she uses any recipe book or cooking recipe, how does she get to know about all those products. So Lisha is specifically driving her mom to talk about a concrete case with specific examples rather than getting vague answers from her mom that, hey, I'll buy this product or I won't buy this product. This helps a lot. So whenever we are doing a user conversation, we should drive the user to talk about a specific case or a particular example from her past life. Third one is about understanding the user behavior. Once Lisha got some hints that her mom is using a particular application for cooking or for any other activity, she wanted to know how does her mom, the user, discovered the relevant product. It was primarily through Sunday magazine's particular section, but that's how Lisha got to know that this can be her go-to-market strategy as well. This is how she can publicize her particular application. And the last one, which is a takeaway from this whole conversation that we saw, our perspective should be about invalidating the idea that we have. We should not get obsessed with our idea that this is what I'm going to build and make sure that the customer buys by giving multiple ways of convincing the customer. Let it be your favorite hero will be featured over there, or MS Dhoni's signature will be there, or something like that. But our intention should be to make sure we are able to invalidate any idea that we have by talking to multiple customers. If we are able to do that, the customer conversations will drive us to better ideas which cannot be invalidated or which can be only partially invalidated. With that aspect, I'm just summarizing what we had and driving my video to the middle. One is forced questions should never be asked to the customers. Would you buy X is one of the worst questions to ask. We cannot get any validation from this question. We can't ignore signals from the customers. The signals can be lukewarm as, I might buy, I might not buy. We should never sell or convince our customers while doing a customer research or a feedback call itself. What are the correct ways of doing it? We should always go with the flow. We should have a good conversation starter so that the customer gets hooked with us. The customer is comfortable in sharing information with us. We should ask concrete case questions. Ask about a past example where the user had a particular experience relevant to your product. And don't let the user talk about vague cases, which is like, yes, I would wish to use a product like that in next 20 years. Never like that, but ask questions about a specific concrete use case that the user had already experienced in past and ask questions based on that. Empathizing with the user is the core principle of mom test. We should always follow along the user and see where can we get some insights, like Lisha did in the previous conversation. She wanted to know the go-to-market strategy of the applications that her mom is using, and she got to know about a newspaper's particular segment where an app was featured and her mom downloaded. So now when the next time Lisha is going to market her product, it will be very easy. So by empathizing with the user, we can extract a lot of information. And the fourth and the most important one is while conducting a mom test, which is also a customer research or product research for whatever we are going to launch as a business, as a startup, or even a feature of our product, we should always have a mentality of invalidating that particular idea rather than having a mentality to validate that, so that we are able to avoid any biases that we have in terms of the product. As in the cases, we could look at few examples to understand how should we do a customer research. Now we'll move ahead and look at few features of mom test. One is avoiding bad data. In the previous case as well, as we saw, a mom can always give compliments to her daughter or person. So we should always avoid compliments. We should not get balked by compliments or get biased by compliments. If someone whom we know tells that our product is amazing, doesn't matter at all. That is vague. We should always ask historical questions. We should drive the person to a particular case in which he has used a particular product and faced a particular problem, very specific, and then only accept that data. Otherwise, we should just ignore compliments. Anything which is generic, which is fluff, which is hypothetical, we should always avoid. And if the user is suggesting an idea that, hey, this is not how you should do it, you should do it in that way, or giving alternate suggestions, we should always avoid these data. One of the most important suggestion which is given by Robert, who is the founder of Mom Test Framework, is that don't mention what you are building. So let's say if Lisha is building an iPad app for cooking, she should never ever mention this to her user. She should just strike a casual conversation with the user to understand if the user needs this product or not. She should never try to sell or even mention the product. We should just empathize with the customer's problems. Are they facing a particular problem while cooking or while using a particular application for cooking? And can we solve that using the iPad app? That should be our intention. Second feature is about commitment. So when we are talking about the mom test framework, and when Lisha mentioned in the previous case that will you buy this app for $20, and her mom mentioned that $20 seems good, I can buy. That is a vague commitment that we can. In that case, Robert mentions that we should always take a fixed commitment from the user. So let's say if her mom says $20 is something which is good for her to buy, we should make the transaction happen. Let's say, so now you can do a transaction for $2, and later on when the product is launched, you can get it for $10 at a 50% discount, just because you did a transaction of $2 right now. So that is a hard commitment which is there. But whenever there is a soft commitment on face, let's say I can tell you that I'll buy your product for $100 tomorrow, but that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't validate the product. In B2C scenario, a small transaction helps. In B2B scenario, Robert mentions that we should go ahead with a letter of intent, which is a signed letter from a company mentioning to you that, okay, I'll be buying this product if you are able to build this, right? That gives a sense of commitment. And that's what we should end every conversation with. If the conversation is going in the right direction, we should get a commitment from the user. A commitment mostly stands for a transaction or a written note where the user is willing to pay an amount for a product. The third and the most important feature of mom test is about advancement. Whenever we were able to hit a good conversation with a user, we should ask for referral. So let's say Lisha talked to her mom. Her mom mentioned that, okay, these are the things, these are the problems I'm facing. Before the conversation ends, Lisha must ask her mom that, can you introduce me to 3 more people who are facing this problem? If the problem is legit, that her mom should be able to introduce Lisha to 3 other people. In the same way, if you're talking to a customer, ask for referrals so that you can advance on your research and talk to more people similar to your users' customer segment. Before moving to the fourth feature, let's look at this question. Who will validate if your idea is going to work? You can take a pause and answer this question. So if you're able to arrive at this, that the investor can't validate if your idea is good or not. The accelerators like Xartup can't ever validate. The founders like you can't validate. That is also true. Your mom obviously can't validate in most of the cases if she is not your ideal customer. So who is going to validate your idea is going to work or not are your ideal customers, full stop. The customers are the only ones who can give us feedback which is valuable to us. On that aspect, the fourth feature of mom test framework is choosing the right customer. And this is something we'll discuss in detail in the next module. Thank you. Hopefully you are able to understand the mom test framework with cases, with features, and with mistakes that founders have done by not validating their idea. So now what we would like you to do is go through our framework, which is very extensive, create a copy on Figma, and start doing individual customer questionnaires. What do I mean by individual customer questionnaire? In the framework, you can see I have put some questions, I have done some research by asking some questions to our customers. You can follow along and create sheets on your individual customers. Ask them about your product, frame questions in the way mom test framework prefers, and then once you are able to do this, create user persona with associated personality. You can look at these in the next video, which is about the framework which is attached, in the link itself in the module. Once you are able to associate personality traits to each and every of your customers, after talking to at least 20 customers, you will have a solid understanding of your idea, if it is going to work or not. Your customers will give that solid understanding to you if you are able to execute it in the right, and then create a summary of your whole research. Once you are able to articulate this template, do this research, you'll have so much understanding about the market that even Xartup, even your investors won't ever have. And a conversation with an investor will always be interesting because the investors will learn a lot from this research of yours. So get started right away, download the framework, create a copy on Figma of the same framework, and start doing your research.